Has the world stopped devaluing the dollar? Has the central bank stopped printing money? Has inflation stopped? No? Well, welcome back to Market Monday. Welcome back to Market Monday, where we talk about financial preparedness and stacking precious metals. Let's talk about what happened in the market last week. Gold closed at $4,979.80. That's up $234.80 from a week ago. Gold traded for a low on the week at $4,423 this week, and then traded back above 5,000 before closing just below that level. Silver this week closed at $76.89. That's down $1.64 from a week ago. Silver traded a low for the week at $63.90. That was on Friday before closing back higher for the day at that 76 level. Silver had quite a large sell-off this week, almost 50% of its total value from the all-time high. That's massive volatility going on in the metals right now. Hopefully we can find a stopping place in this market, but compared to gold, silver has had the largest swings by far here in the last week. The gold-silver ratio this week traded as wide as $72. That's about 7 points wider than a week ago. We've been having some large swings in the gold-silver ratio as well. That's obviously because of the massive volatility in silver and in gold, but mostly silver. So that GSR has been moving about all over the place. Copper this week has had the lowest amount of volatility compared to all the metals, but still sold off. Copper traded with a weekly low of $5.56, but closed at $5.88 on Friday. That's only down 4 cents from a week ago. And if you remember last week, copper only traded within 2 cents of the previous week before that. So copper has just really been consolidating in this area just under $6 after having tried to break out above that $6 area. It's just sitting right here around this $5.80 to $5.90 area. Lead, on the other hand, closed at $1,931.20. That's down $59 from a week ago. Lead is right towards the bottom end of its trading channel, as you can see on the chart, and it's also really close to the 52-week lows. Unlike the rest of the metals, lead has been the only one that has continually been moving lower throughout this big metal push and is now towards the lows for it. Metals overall this week had some really big swings, but we're mostly trying to figure out where to go next. A little bit of consolidation, even though the consolidation trades were really big. We didn't see lower lows, and we didn't see a V-bottom in the market either. Open interest remained fairly steady for the week, so we'll see what happens next. Crude oil gained some momentum this week, closing at $63.55. That's down $1.71 from a week ago. If we stay above the $63.90 or go back above the $63.90, $72 would still be the next target, and $68.90 would be the short-term target if we get there. I think that would hold the buying pressure for the year unless we see some other geopolitical events happen, which is very possible with everything that's going on right now. Bonds this week, bonds overall traded lower on the week. As far as yields go, the U.S. bonds traded at 4.85%. That's just slightly lower from a week ago, but really staying fairly steady. We've just been in this 4.8 to 4.87 area, and we really haven't gotten out of range on that. The Japanese bonds this week also moved a little lower. They traded at 3.56. They were closer to 3.6 last week and moved a little bit lower again this week. I keep mentioning the Japanese bonds because if the Japanese bonds get in trouble again, they're potentially going to have to sell U.S. Treasuries, and that's not going to be good for the U.S. but that would be good for precious metals. Bitcoin has seemed to really be the talk of the town here, especially on social media this week, as it has had extreme volatility. It traded at 70,260. That's down $13,845 from a week ago. A lot of the reasoning is seemed to believe to come from that there was a lot of margin calls due to the volatility in the metals, and money managers were having to potentially sell some of their Bitcoin in order to fulfill the margin calls on the precious metals. There's also been a lot of controversy around Bitcoin based on what was found in the Epstein files and so on, but we're not really here to talk about that sickness. But we'll see if Bitcoin starts to find a low or if it's going to continue to move lower. Some analysts have said as low as 27,000. I, for one, don't really know. Like I've said in the past, I own a little bit of Bitcoin, but like I've also said in the past, when people get into trouble and need money, the first thing they sell is the Bitcoin, and that has proven to be right, as we've just seen here this week. The ammo market held steady again with high quality 9 mil 124 grain FMJ ammo trading at 28 cents and the 5.56 62 grain steel tipped ammo at 48 cents. I received several questions this week asking if now was a good time to buy metals given the massive pullback that we've had in silver. And the one question I asked them was, has the central bank stopped devaluing the dollar? Have they stopped printing money? Has inflation stopped? No. While price point and buying at the right price point in precious metals is important, we are also trading our dollars for precious metals no matter the price point, because in the end, it stops the devaluation of our hard-earned dollars. And that's really what's important. And so that's why as stackers, we continually buy over time so that we get a good price average, and we're always buying some of the highs, some of the lows, some in the middle, but we're stopping the devaluation of our dollar with every dollar that we transform into gold, silver, or ammo. And that's what's really important. And we do it because it's part of the plan and not based on emotion and what's going on in the market and what you see on social media. The fact that ammo has still yet to move says that there's still opportunity to continue buying ammo here at these price levels before something else happens in that market and before copper potentially goes out to new highs when there's a breakout again. As stackers, this pullback in the precious metals has opened a lot of opportunity for us. I did a little buying. I think it's good to do some buying here in this area. And if it goes lower, we'll just keep buying. Stay safe and keep stacking.